Hey there, and welcome to another Kidlit chat. I'm your host, Brooke Van Sickle, and I have the wonderful Jessica St-Jean here with me. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm just wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this. We're so excited to get to chat with you and learn about agenting and illustrations and all the things. But real quick, before we dive in, let's chat about where you used to work before. So you used to work for Candlewick in the art department. And a lot of authors I'm finding are really surprised on the process for like illustrations and how it all works. So kind of what does that encompass when it comes to making a book?
Yeah, I had a very strange role when I was at Candlewick. It was very unique. It was very fun, but I don't think it's in many other publishers. I mean, I'll describe it, but just bear in mind that this is not a common thing. So my role at Candlewick in the art department was the illustration coordination manager. I did lots of different things. Most people in publishing wear lots of different hats, but like my kind of primary role was to coordinate the illustrator searches. So, anytime a project was acquired that needed an illustrator to be paired with it, whether that was a picture book that was written by an author who wouldn't also be illustrating, or a middle grade jacket that we wanted to hire an illustrator for, that would all kind of be coordinated through me. So I didn't make all the decisions, but I would kind of like gather the team who would at Candlewick get together, and everybody would share ideas, and then we would kind of deliberate and create a short list, and then send that on to the author. And then eventually, when an illustrator was selected, I would negotiate with the illustrator's agent. So then I kind of jumped and flipped to the other side of that, and now I'm the person negotiating. But it
Yeah.
was a really good time, and it was kind of a cool role because I originally came to publishing in editorial roles. So then I was in the art department. I was like the one person in the art department without like a design degree, or no illustration talent. But I kind of had this different kind of role in there. Yeah, I was like the spreadsheet person in the art department for a long time.
Sometimes the art department needs those people because creatives,
Yeah,
they'll just be all over if they don't have someone
yeah,
being like,
it's true.
here's the order.
Yeah, it was good to have somebody with a different, my brain worked in a different way than all the designers who were so talented. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love it. That's so cool. Well, so kind of, I guess that's sort of how it led to agenting, but what really made you make the jump and why?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of different factors. Um, as always, when you're making a big career move, I think the biggest one for me was inherently when you're at a publisher, even when publishers really invest in particular creators and authors or in illustrators, and they really want to foster their careers and work with them on lots of books. The relationship is inherently book to book. And so because I was in this unique role where I was, I was scouting a lot of debut talent. I was like, the keeper of the list of people that we really were keen to work with. And so I was really, I was craving being able to work with illustrators on their whole career and not only like kind of book to book. So that's kind of why I made the jump. So I get to really kind of follow my illustrators wherever their passions take them. At publishers, everybody has their own aesthetic and their own brand and like the types of book that they publish, right? And so if a creator has been doing a lot of work with one publisher but wants to explore like another creative path, it might not fit with that publisher, so then they would have to find another publisher, and that's just how it works.
Yeah,
But now as an agent, I can kind of like follow them on all of those journeys if they want to try different formats, if they want to try writing. So it's fun.
that's awesome. That sounds so cool. Well, I know authors get really hesitant when it comes to illustrations, but as like a publisher and someone who makes books and stuff, like you just see the awesome transformation that stories turn when you get to see all the illustrations come together. So for any of my authors that are a little bit concerned that I wanting losing the control, kind of
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel like an illustrator adds to the story to help create these awesome books?
Yeah, I love this question because I think this is such a common thing. And I think it can often sometimes create some miscommunications that like authors don't necessarily intend with their illustrators. So I'm so glad that you asked this. The thing that I would say is that, first of all, yes, authors, you do have to relinquish control. um, but I would get excited about that because really, what illustrators are bringing to a picture book is not like being a person who's better at drawing than the author. And I think that sometimes like a little bit of a misconception, like the author, I think a lot of picture book authors, when you're writing picture books, because they're so inherently visual, you are kind of imagining the book in your head as you write. And I think that's good. But ultimately, you don't want to hire someone who can just draw that thing that you're seeing in your head. A picture book illustrator is also a storyteller. Like their skill is to be able to read, it's essentially a poem sometimes, and interpret that and make it a visual narrative over the course of 16 spreads or whatever it would be. And the choices that they're going to make, the ideas that they're going to have, they're going to layer on top of the author's ideas. They're going to add to it. They're going to add complexity. Hopefully the author will be like really pleasantly surprised by some of the additions that the illustrator will bring in. So I think it's being excited about the process. And I think also something that I would think about when you're an author, hopefully your publisher would be including you in the conversation about, which illustrator they're going to approach to illustrate your book. And I wouldn't think only about what style that illustrator has. That's a big part of it. You just want to inherently like the art, right? Like you,
Right.
you just want to vibe with the style. That's important. Just follow your gut. You don't have to explain why somebody vibes with you and why, more than others. But also I would think about like the decisions that person makes. Are they making really interesting creative decisions when they're interpreting text or when they're approaching their portfolio pieces? If you look at just a piece of their narrative art, do you wonder what that story is? Do you get a sense of what that story is? Because that's, you're bringing this thinker into your project and you're going to collaborate with them in the same way that your editor is bringing their vision, as the designer is bringing their vision, and everybody's visions and great ideas are all going to come together to make that picture book. And I think that's why picture books can be so amazing and special. So I would get really excited about that process. And I think it's really fun. And I think when authors are worried about maintaining the strict vision that they had of the book when they're writing it, it can feel like kind of laborious and scary doing that process and that collaboration with the illustrator. But I think if they kind of let go and they trust that the publisher has just hired like their own kind of creative genius to pair with you, then it gets really exciting. And you can really look forward to the surprises that the illustrator is going to bring.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and collaborations are just fun. Like there's more
Yeah.
brains that can make an even awesomer book.
Yeah. And of course, if there's pieces of that vision that are really important to you, even if they feel kind of minor, like of course authors should share that with the illustrator. I think always approaching it as a suggestion and kind of explaining why that's a really important part of their vision can be really helpful. So like this is a made up example, but for example, I wouldn't as an author just send a photo of someone to the illustrator and say, this is what this character looked like, because that kind of restricts that illustrator's own creative vision for the book. But if it's like, you wrote this story with a particular person in your life in mind, and it would be so special to you and to them for this kid to like open the book and see themselves in it, that's awesome, and like you can share that with the illustrator, and that completely changes the dynamic of that, that suggestion, that piece of inspiration. So think
Yeah.
about it like that too.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good tip because then that helps them be like, oh yeah, it sparks their creativity of how can I do that
Exactly.
instead of it being like, draw this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, do you have any really cool projects you're working on right now or anything getting ready to come out that has you all fired up?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I have a bunch of books coming out this fall, which I am so excited to see hit shelves. I started being an agent in 2020, and it takes so long for picture books to be made. I'm sure everyone you're working with has the same feelings. So this fall is when I have a bunch of books coming out, and then from there it's going to be hopefully pretty steady. One that I'm really excited about that I just think is so special and so unique is called Lonely Bird by Ruth Whiting. And this book has been on such an incredible journey. Ruth has been working on it, I think, for 19 years. Yeah, this has been an incredible journey. And so to see it come out and like hit shelves is going to be so special. But it's this really cool story. It's sort of like a little bit like The Borrowers. I was so into The
Mhm.
Borrowers as a kid.
Right? They're so fun.
Um, and so this is like a tiny doodle of a bird comes to life, and she's an artist, and she's very introverted, and she lives with a family. And that's kind of where the borrower's element comes. You know, you see this little tiny bird in this like huge big world. But she's an artist, and the way that she really interacts with the family that she lives with is by creating art and leaving it for them to find. And so she can kind of create art out of lots of kind of discarded items, but she can see a vision for them. And so she creates a friend out of some art, and then the friend gets sucked up by the vacuum cleaner. And so Lonely Bird bravely goes on an adventure to rescue her friend. And it's just like a really fun, special, creative book. So I can't wait for that one.
So awesome. Who's that coming out with?
Candlewick. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So my old friends at Candlewick, yeah, they did an amazing job with it. It was such a, you know, such a different, unique book. And when we were pitching it, you know, I was really crossing my fingers because I just think it's so special. And yeah, Candlewick just saw how special it was, like from the beginning. I think the editor Mary Lee made an offer on it 24 hours or something after we sent it out. So it was, yeah. It's a perfect book for Candlewick. They did an amazing job. And Ruth's art is incredible. She painted the whole book in oil, and it's really amazing.
Oh my gosh. So when does it come out?
October 10th, I believe.
So October 2023, guys, mark your calendars. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, keep an eye out for Lonely Bird.
Lonely Bird. Oh my gosh, I think we're gonna have to get that. I just had a babe, so we've been reading all of the picture books. They keep sending me all these board books. I'm like, no, please send me the picture books. That's what we would like to read.
I know. I'm always bringing like just a stack of picture books to baby showers, and everyone's like, it's gonna be a while. I'm like, your kiddo is gonna be reading these books. It's okay. I love board books too, guys, but
they are very fun.
Picture books are where my heart is. Yeah. And Lonely Bird is currently in the mail to me right now. I'm pretty sure it's going to arrive the minute after we get off the phone. So I can't do a little show and
tell. Send us a photo so we can share it, or tag us and we'll reshare. That'll be so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
Yeah. Well, I always like to ask a really fun question when I do these, and I learned that you're a double Virgo, which I just love because I'm also a Virgo. And I've been watching a lot of things recently where they're organizing books, and it just sort of, you know, it makes our little organization spines kind of tingle. So I have a question for how you would want to organize the books.
Yeah.
Spine to the back of the shelf, like HGTV. First letter of the first line, like they do in Good Omens. Favorite illustrator? How would you do it?
I know. I love the Good Omens drop. That's that was one of my favorite pieces from that book. But yeah, to be honest, the spines to the back of the shelf makes me want to die. It feels so impractical, and I don't understand.
That's not what book it is.
No, I don't understand. That sounds so stressful to me. And also, I don't really understand the appeal of just seeing like a wall of paper. But it's okay. Each to their own. I would definitely be spines out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I mentioned to you earlier, we're currently renovating my house. So I have, like, my books are all in disarray. My bookshelves are all in disarray. But what I really like to do is for like my personal books, like not my picture books that I'm working on. I do them by category and by author, last name. But my clients' books I do by illustrator. So like all of their books are kind of together. And you know, we get agent copies, so I'll have like, you know, 7 of each book. So that's nice. But yeah, but right now I've also got like some board books in there. It's like chaos. I mean, anytime I'm looking for something, I'm like, where is this book? I know it's somewhere. It's stressing me out. So
I've been doing mine by size, like the shortest to the tallest.
Yeah. I love that. I really like when people do a rainbow. I think that's pretty cool. That's like very satisfying to me visually. One of my favorite presents that my sister ever gave me was she got me this book stamp that says the Library of JSJ. My like nickname is JSJ. So it says from the Library of JSJ, and I stamp all my books with it, which is fun. Yeah,
that's awesome. Then if you lend a book, it's like, who do you return this to?
Exactly. Don't forget. You can keep it for as long as you need it, but like don't forget that
like,
where it needs to go home to.
Yeah. Oh, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to our panel in a couple of months too.